I thought you'd be interested in getting a first glance at this really big hardwood tree before you look at my face. Hey there. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Friday, July 1st, the Friday just before July 4th weekend, and I am not in my usual North Carolina spots. I am heading north to stay at a friend's house for the weekend in Covington, Virginia. So I decided to leave a little bit early and do a hike on the way there, or sort of on the way there. So I am hiking in the mountain lake wilderness of Jefferson National Forest. And this is located roughly halfway in between Parisburg and Blacksburg in the Allegheny Mountains, just north of the New River Valley. And this is the largest wilderness in Virginia in the National Forest, outside of Shenandoah Wilderness and Shenandoah National Park. And the reason it's called Mountain Lake Wilderness is because just south of here, outside of the wilderness, is Mountain Lake, which is the only naturally occurring high elevation mountain lake in all of the southeast, I believe. And it's not in the wilderness, there's trails there, but there's a lot of people there. I thought I'd do something off the beaten path. So my first spot that I'm going to hit is War Rock, which is a knob cliff overlook, and then head north on the War Rock Connector Trail to meet up with the Appalachian Trail. Continue north across Salt Pond Mountain, and then head east on the AT to another overlook called Wind Rock, and then hit the forest road and return about 2 miles on the forest road. So I think the loop is 2 miles on the forest road and 6 miles of trail, making it a pretty short 8 miles for me, but I did start pretty late in the afternoon. So I'm not doing the out and back I originally planned on Potts Mountain Trail to White Rocks. So we'll see how it goes. I am wearing glasses because my right eye is really red, so I figured I shouldn't wear my contacts today if possible. And I never wear them because usually I sweat a lot in my forehead and they fog up. So we'll see how that goes. This is the first time I've ever hiked in glasses. But it's a pretty beautiful trail so far. This is the Chestnut Trail, and I think in less than a mile I'll be at War Rock. But it's, very open. Maybe it's been logged in the past because it's pretty flat, and there's just ferns covering everything, so it's very beautiful. So the next stop should be War Rock. See you there. Just arrived at the War Spur Overlook. My apologies earlier. I've also seen this referenced as War Rock, but both the ridge line, the creek drainage, and the trail are all called War Spur. So I think that should be the proper name. Anyways, this is a small open rocky area with an open view. This is directly north of the elongated Salt Pond Mountain, and the high point is Lone Pine Peak. So I'm gonna be up there in a bit. I think the trail's gonna go in this direction and then follow that ridge up to the top. Below me I can hear pretty audibly War Spur Branch. So it either must have a lot of water, or it has some waterfalls down there. Who knows? Just like all the Alleghenies, these mountains are long and hard to identify individual peaks. So Salt Pond Mountain goes this direction, and then at some point over here it turns into Potts Mountain, and White Rocks is somewhere over here. Have no idea, honestly. Then if I move a little bit this way, this is the eventual drainage of War Spur Branch. Somewhere down there it meets John Creek. So this direction is looking north. So it's a pretty cool overlook. Definitely looks a lot different than my North Carolina mountains. It's kind of creepy how easy this is. The only downhill uphill really was dropping down to pass War Spur branch and climbing out of it, but that wasn't steep at all. Otherwise, you can see this is just, I mean, I'm sure because this is mostly a plateau that it was logged, and these are old logging roads, but this the trail is just perfectly manicured with grass while the sides aren't, and it's just flat and hardly any rocks. Really flat, easy walking. It's been very pleasant so far. I finished with the War Spur Loop Trail, and I'm heading north on the War Branch Trail to connect with the Appalachian Trail soon. Maybe once I reach the AT that the trail will change, but who knows? This is kind of fun. I did a little 200-foot bushwhack off the trail to tag the summit of Lone Pine Peak, which might be the highest point on Salt Pond Mountain, and if it was, it'd be the highest point in the Mountain Lake Wilderness. So it's they have those lists on Peak Bagger for highest wilderness points. I'm definitely sure there's a summit. There's this stick stuck into the rocks right there. It was pretty easy. It's kind of cool. All the erosion, typical of the summit ridge lines of the Allegheny Mountains, have these huge jumble of rocks. Actually, after I reached the Appalachian Trail, it went from easy to kind of difficult. It was the toughest part of the hike so far. It was, I think, about 500 foot climb. Pretty steep all the way up right beside the top of this peak. So definitely got me a little tired, sweating a lot. Now my glasses have been fogging up. But luckily that's over, and I don't think there's any more climbs the rest of this hike. From here is mostly plateau with the boggy areas and then Wind Rock. So it's about 4:15, and I thought it would take me 4 hours to do this hike. I'm on pace to do it in 3, so I'm gonna hustle up. The trail has barely dropped in elevation once I passed Lone Pine Peak, and I'm kind of straddling the 4,000 foot elevation contour, and this is some of the upland high elevation bog, and you can definitely tell that the soil is a little richer here. These ferns are pretty tall. They're almost neck height. We'll see what other sorts of plant life is up further. I read that around Potts Mountain, it's a red spruce bog, so that might be pretty cool. This is a very interesting section of the Appalachian Trail. I am on the eastern flank of Potts Mountain, and the Potts Mountain Trail closely parallels the Appalachian Trail, but it's along the top of the ridge line, which only looks 100 or so more feet above where I am. The trail is probably less than a quarter of a mile in that direction, but the ferns kind of disappeared. It's just all young deciduous trees and grass, as if this area has been completely cleared by forest harvesting in the past century or so. But it's still a very easy walk. Wind Rock is coming up. I'm in Fern Heaven right now. Everything to my right. Just incredible ground cover. Oh, so green. This is much better than a War Spur. Wind Rock has quite an expansive view. I'm basically on the border of West Virginia, so all of this is West Virginia. The unknown for me. Panoramic views from Wind Rock, looking towards West Virginia. Slightly different view on the rocks that were to my right. A little bit more open in the northern direction. I'm back at my car, and the flies are really, really, oh, this is really annoying. I'm gonna make this quick. The hike ended up being 9.3 miles total, a little longer than I thought. Maybe the road walk was longer than Google Maps calculated. It was just under 4 hours. I think it was about 3 hours and 50 minutes. Overall, it was a pretty easy hike, except that one climb up to Lone Pine Peak. Otherwise, it was almost always flat. Pretty easy tread. Very enjoyable. Fern and grassline paths. War Spur Overlook was, it was okay, but definitely check out Wind Rock. That was a great expansive cliff overlook of the Allegheny Mountains in West Virginia across the border. And I kind of wish I did that first, because towards the south the sun was really glaring, and I couldn't get good photos in that direction. So if you're coming to this area and interested and only doing a short hike, definitely go to Wind Rock. That's the primo of this region. I'm not sure how White Rocks would have been. It would have required an extra 2.5 miles out and back on the Potts Mountain Trail, and from what I saw, the Potts Mountain Trail, where it intersected with the Appalachian Trail, was really overgrown, so that could have been full of ticks and bugs and all sorts of things. Oh, these flies are awful. All right, time to find my way to Covington and party all weekend for July 4th. I hope you enjoyed this hike. Check it out on Hiking Upward when I put it up. All right, see you guys later.